Hey guys, welcome back to this music theory live streaming, music theory for guitarists, episode 16. Good to see you all and welcome to this new live streaming. As always, I'm gonna pull up this live streaming on a different device to make sure that everything is fine with the audio and video sync, just to make sure, we don't have any issue with that. And yes, we should be ready to go shortly. One thing that I want to mention is what we're going to talk about tonight. I've got my list of topics here, and you also find it in the description here below, together with the timestamps. If you are watching the replay of this live streaming, the timestamps means that looking at the timeline of this video, you will find the chapters. So if you guys are interested in following specific topics of this live stream, after you watched it live and you want to quickly review some of the topics, the best way is following, the timestamps and find what you are looking for. Okay, so let's check the quality of the audio and the video. Yeah, it seems that we are in sync, so I'm just gonna keep it down here in case I miss any of your questions. And while you guys join, feel free to say hi, use the live chat, and ask any questions while I'm live. I would be more than happy to answer your questions. So what are we going to talk about tonight? Mainly, this is a live streaming on chords. So we're going to learn a few extra chords on guitar, talking about the theory behind these chords and how to play them on guitar. What I'm referring to is chord extensions. So I'm talking about the 9th chords. I'm talking about the 11th chords, the 13th chords, which are questions and topics that many of you asked me during my previous live streamings and also in other comments. So before we get started and with an introduction on chord extensions, I want to say that I made a video months ago on the channel on chord extensions, showing a few very important positions of 9th, 11th, and 13th chords. You find it linked in the description below. Okay, so if you open the description of this video, you will find the timestamps as we mentioned with all of the topics, and at the bottom of them you find one link showing you the video that I'm referring to, which is chord extensions, 9th, 11th, and 13th chords. That's what we're going to talk about tonight, and we'll also be talking about 6 and 6/9 chords. So these amazing jazzy samba Brazilian chords, if you want. So we're going to talk about them. We're going to learn them all. We're going to learn the theory behind them and everything. So we're ready to start. Let's get started with a little introduction. First of all, what do I mean with chord extensions? If you guys followed the previous episodes of this series, I'm sure that you went over triads, major triads, minor triads, all of the diminished triads, augmented sus2 and sus4. We also introduced very much the 7th chords. Okay, we talked about dominant 7th, minor 7th, minor 7 flat 5, which is basically the half diminished chord, and also major 7th chords and diminished 7th chords. And we talked about how to harmonize scales, how to basically figure out the key of any key of the chord progressions and songs that you already play, and how you can come up with your own chord progressions using the rules of the music theory and the harmony. So these are the things that we talked about. So why do we need to go over more chords? Because sometimes, especially when you harmonize chords, but in general, if you go over specific genres, like for example, if you play some jazz, if you play some neo soul, if you play some jazzy-oriented music, you find chords like this. Okay, you find chords like this. You find chords like this. Okay, these are all nice chords. But you don't know how to build these chords, how to play these chords, if you don't go over something called chord extensions. Now, the very basics that you have to know, guys, is that we build up any chord by thirds. So, for example, you get a major triad doing root, third, and fifth, and then you extend this by another third on top of the fifth to get the 7th degree. For example, you get a major 7th chord going 1, 3, 5, 7. So this is a process that goes by thirds all the time: 1, 3, 3, 5, 5, 7. Now, what happens if I want to extend my chord over the 7th, so above the 7th? Well, then I find, for example, the 9th. So if I continue my process of harmonization by thirds, I find 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay, and I get a major 9 chord. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. The same thing happens if you want to extend over the 9th by another third, you find the 11th, and adding another third on top of the 11th, you find the 13th, like for example this beautiful C major 13 chord, or this A7 13 chord, and so on and so forth. So these are the chords that we're going to talk about tonight. Just to clarify this, let's say that all you need to know is that we build chords by thirds for now. And the notes 9, 11, and 13 that we are talking about in this video are basically the 2nd, the 4th, and the 6th degree of the scale that you are skipping when you harmonize the scale by thirds until the 7th. So if I do 1, 3, 5, what have I skipped? I'm skipping the 2nd and the 4th degree. And if I do 1, 3, 5, 7, what am I skipping out of my scale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? I'm skipping the 2, the 4, and the 6. And the 2, the 4, and the 6 are those notes that I will find 1 octave higher, called 9th, 11th, and 13th above the 7th. Okay, I hope this makes sense for everybody. Thanks everybody for joining, and thanks Leo that left a comment. Greetings from Colombia. I'm able to tune. Oh, great. Oh, thank you for tuning in, and thanks everybody for joining this live streaming. As always, we're gonna start right now with the 9th chords, which is the first topic after the introduction. If you guys have any questions, as always, feel free to leave them in the live chat. As well as any other comment or feedback that you might have. Okay, so let's get started with these 9th chords. When we talk about 9th chords, we talk about the first extension above the 7th. So as we said just now, when we build a 7th chord, we go 1, 3, 5, 7, with obviously different types of thirds, different types of fifths, different types of 7ths, depending on what kind of chord we're going to build up. But from whatever of these chords, you can extend 1/3 higher than their 7th degree, and you will find the 9th. So, for example, one that I want to talk about is the dominant 9th chord. Very funky. So how do we play a dominant 9th chord, and how do we build up a dominant 9th chord? Well, basically, we start from a major triad, root, major 3rd, and perfect 5th. Highly yeah, it sounds really good when you play dominant 9th chords. So root, major 3rd, and perfect 5th is basically what we do when we play a major triad, okay? Nothing fancy. When we play a dominant 7th chord, which is the first species of 7th chords that we introduced in this series, and if you guys are unsure, you find them in the episodes 8 and 9 of this series, you are basically using the minor 7th. So you go root, major 3rd, perfect 5th, minor 7th, and you get this kind of sound. Okay, so the dominant 7 chords, and again, you find all of the most important shapes that you want to know on guitar in my previous videos, but what is really important is that the dominant 7th is a tensive chord. We learned that it creates the tension on the 5th degree before you release on the 1st. Okay, so as soon as you hear root, major 3rd, and minor 7th, you hear this kind of tension, and if you extend 1/3 above, the minor 7th, you get the major 9th. Okay, so the major 9th is the 9th that you find extending the dominant 7 chord, and it becomes this. Okay, when I play this voicing, although I said that I go 1, 3, 5, minor 7, major 9, I'm not really playing the 5th in this chord. So if you guys just play like this, root, major 3rd, minor 7th, and major 9, you are playing an omit 5 position, which is absolutely fine. It happens a lot in many styles, from jazz to funk to soul and R&B, everywhere. But if you want to also include the 5th in this chord, you're gonna put it here. So this is the 5th, just 1 octave higher. So what I'm gonna do is 1, 3, 7, 9, 5. Okay, and I get this, which is what I was playing before, because this sounds definitely more funky. I'm sure that if you guys are familiar with the sound of James Brown, with the sound of the Chic Nile Rodgers, you've heard this chord tons of times. And if you were wondering why this chord is called ninth, okay, the reason is because we start from a dominant seventh, okay, and we extend it to the ninth, and it becomes a dominant ninth. Now, how do you notate this chord? So I'm playing a C ninth chord, a C dominant ninth. Well, when I play a C7, we said that we are going to put just C, the name of the root, and seventh to say that's a dominant seventh. We don't need any further symbol. And the same thing happens when we do a dominant nine. We just write C9, like literally the letter C for the root and the number 9. That means dominant 9. This is not the only way. You could also write C7/9. Okay, that's another way of writing it down. But I must say the most common is just C9. Okay, so that's the position that I want you guys to know, with the root on the A string, and play the C9 like that. Okay. What happens if instead I start from a minus seventh chord, which is the second species of seventh chords, like this, for example, and I want to extend this to the ninth? Well, then I will go through this process. I will talk about root, minor third, perfect fifth, minor seventh. These are the notes of a minor seven chord, extended again to the major ninth, and I get this. This is a beautiful chord, guys. The minor 9 chord is one of my favorite chords ever. Okay, it's one of those chords that you find all the time in jazz, you find all the time in bossa nova. So if you guys are interested in finding out the sounds of these Latin styles, minor 9, major 9 chords, 6/9 chords are the chords that you are looking for, the chords that you need to learn. Now, when I play this minor 9, okay, what is going on? It's going on that I'm not playing the fifth again, because I'm not playing this note that I've got here, because I use this string to play the minor third. So what can I do? I can play again once more the perfect fifth on top and get this sound, okay, which is very common. And also I want to show you a song, okay? I want to show you a song which actually starts with this chord played with this voicing, which is... Now, you might have recognized, well, I'll play a couple of chords more. So when you play this, which is Rock With You by Michael Jackson, the first chord that you play is an E minor 9. Okay, and E flat minor 9. This is an E flat minor 9. And it's basically a minor seventh that you extend with the major 9. Andres said, Rock With You, my man. Yes, that's it. That's correct. Good call. So yes, this is the E flat minor 9 chord, and in general, this is how you play any minor 9, really. What happens if we instead start from a major 7 chord, which is a beautiful chord? Well, when you play a major 7, you're playing the root, the major third, the perfect fifth, and the major 7th. You extend this to the major 9th, and you get a C major 9. Now, when I play this C major 9, again, the voicing goes like root, major third, major 7th, which is wonderful, major 9 here, and I don't have the chance to play the perfect fifth. In order to play the perfect fifth, I should bar with this finger, you know, these two strings, okay, something like that. But it never sounds good. It's never too comfortable. And if you guys have to choose one degree of the chord that you want to sacrifice somehow, avoid, okay, put off, and because you are playing an extension, I would say the fifth is usually the best choice, usually, most of the times. We also must consider that, you know, even if you play the piano and you don't have the issues, the technical issues that you have on guitar to play all of the degrees of these chords, very often you don't want to play all of the notes, because what you feel like is that if you play all of the notes, it's going to be too heavy. So even these, you know, minor 9 chords, very often you don't play them with the fifth just because it's too heavy, it's too many notes, okay? And if you have to take out one note, the note that you will take out will be the fifth, so the voicing will be more like... Then depending on the style, you might find again that fifth on the bass alternating to the root note, like, okay, which is very typical. For example, of Brazilian music, I streamed a few times on Brazilian music, samba, bossa nova, and I've got an entire playlist of videos that I made on Brazilian music and especially on bossa nova. So if you guys are interested, you can check that out on my channel. Then I also want to show you another chord, which is not so common to find, but it's one of my favorite, and I feel like once you know this chord, you will use it all the time. And this, again, is a major seventh chord that you extend somehow to the ninth. So you do the same thing as the major ninth, but because we are not playing the third anymore, we should actually call it major 7 sus2. We explained that every time we don't play the third in a chord, we're going to have a sus chord, and if you replace that third with the second degree, you're going to have a major 9 sus2. So basically what happens is, let's take another chord. Let's take, for example, let's start from a C. I'm sure that you guys know the C major. If you remove this finger, you get C major 7. So this is one of the positions of the caged system in order to play a major 7 in C shape. That's a C major 7. If you guys move these two notes, in particular if you move the root note anywhere else on the same string, you get the same position. So for example, I can go here, fret number 8, and play an F major 7, okay? This is nothing fancy, and it's not an extended chord, it's just a major 7 chord, and it sounds great. Now, what I can do is, I can take this note, which is the major third, because the voicing is 1, 3, 5, 7, okay? This is a closed position, if you guys followed my video on closed positions as opposed to spread voicing positions or drop voicings. So this is a closed position, 1, 3, 5, 7. If you now take the third and you move it down to the second degree, so again, you remove the third and you get the second degree, which is the meaning of sus2, you get something like this, which is a wonderful chord. So all I'm doing here, I'm considering this the root. I'm starting from a major 7, and I'm moving the third down to the second degree, getting this. Okay, I really love this chord. Now, guys, when you play this, there are always different names, and we will explore this even in one of the following videos of this series. But every time that you extend these chords or you use the sus chords, there might be alternative names for the same chords. So when I play this F major 7 sus2, which is what I'm thinking of and the way I would call it, you can also think of a C triad with an F on the bass. Now, obviously, the F doesn't belong to the C triad, so it's an external note, and this is just a way of using the slash chord name as opposed to the major 7 sus2. So if you feel like, you can say this is an F major 7 sus2, or it's a C over F. If you write C slash F, that would be exactly the same as writing down F major 7 sus2. Okay, I hope these all make sense so far, guys. If you have any questions about these 9 chords that we went through, feel free to leave them in the live chat. We'll be now moving on to the 11th degree, which is a little bit more complicated, so stick to this video if you're interested in understanding the difference between the 9th and the 11th and learning also a few more positions of these chords. Something that I want to mention is that, first of all, when you join, feel free to say hi and let me know if everything is all right with the audio quality, if you can hear me all right, if you can hear the guitar fine, if everything is all right. And if you feel like supporting the channel, there is also a button which is called Super Chat, where you can support these videos if you guys take any advantage, if you enjoy watching these videos, and if these videos give you any value. Otherwise, you can support these videos just leaving a like to this video, because this really helps with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps me reaching out more people that might be interested in learning music theory for guitarists. Okay, that said, we're ready to move on to the next topic, which is going to be 11th chords, and in particular dominant 11th and minor 11th chords, and we will explain why we are not talking about major 11th chords. Okay, let's answer this question for which names should be used. Are there special instances in which to use each one? Also, both your voice and guitar sound great. Okay, thanks for your feedback, first of all, on my audio quality. And it's actually the same whether you say, for example, F major 7 sus2, or whether you say C over F, okay? It doesn't really change anything, because even if you write C over F, anybody that really understands music theory would look for the F as the actual root of the chord and will understand the function of that chord starting from F. Okay, hopefully this makes sense. So feel free to use either one of them. So when we talk about dominant 7 chord, like before, you know, when we were playing the C7, we said we can extend this to the ninth, to the major ninth, and get this C9. Well, what does it happen if I want to extend it one more major third above and get the C11? Well, C11 is a chord that I find written down, especially in Google charts, where you find the lyrics with the chords on top, websites basically, all the time. And very often I feel like people don't really know what a C11 chord is and whether it should be called like this. I made an entire video in the past explaining why I don't really like the name C11 or any 11 name for the dominant chords extended to the 11th. We will understand now why. But anyway, anytime somebody shows you or talks about an 11th chord, what they mean is either this chord or this other position on guitar. They're both absolutely identical. I'm playing the same notes. Going through the notes first, they're going to be C, F, B flat, D, C, B flat, D, F. So exactly the same notes, just in a different order. Now, if you guys are a little bit more experienced on the triads, you might have recognized that when I play this, I'm playing a B flat triad with a C on the bass. And when I play this, I'm playing a B flat triad with a C on the bass. That's exactly the same thing. So again, once more, you could say the C11 could be called B flat over C, B flat slash C. So a B flat triad with a C on the bass. And that would be absolutely correct, and it wouldn't create any problem really to what you are learning. The thing is, when you say C11, you are saying that you are playing a dominant 7 chord where you also add the 11th degree, which is the 4th 1 octave higher. Now, we did explain in the previous episodes of this series that the 11th or the 4th, the perfect 4th, is basically an avoid note every time the scale or the chord that you are talking about contains the major third. Because between the major third and the perfect 4th, there is an interval of half step. And this thing, major third, perfect 11th, doesn't sound good to most ears. Okay, this thing definitely doesn't sound great at all. So when you play a dominant 7 chord and you try, I don't even know how I can do this like this probably. This note sounds like a dissonance to most ears. So that's the reason why what you play when you play a C11 is not really a C11, because this would be a C11, a dominant 7 chord, maybe omit 5, in this case it's omit 5, extended to the 11th. But what you play, it's not this, and this is not what most people mean with C11. With C11, you actually mean a C that you extend to the 9th, so a C9, like the one that we were playing before, but from this position, you take the major third and you move it up to perfect 4th, so you make it sus4. And you get at C9, sus4. The C9 that we were playing before, adding the 4th and replacing the 3rd, so C9, sus4. Now, you might say, well, I could say C911 or just C11. Well, yes, but if you say C911 or C11, you're not telling me that you're not playing the 3rd anymore. And I'm assuming that you do have both the major 3rd and the perfect 5th, and the perfect 4th, sorry. And this doesn't happen, because when you move this note here, you're removing the major 3rd, okay? And even in this other position of C11 that everybody knows, the most common to be fair, you're not playing the major 3rd, which would be here. This is a C9, but what you do is this, C9 sus4, where there is no major 3rd because there is the perfect 4th. So if I go through the degrees of this is root minus 7th, major 2nd, perfect 4th. Where is the major 3rd? It would be here. But you either play the major 3rd or the perfect 4th. Okay, so if you play the major 3rd, that's 1, minus 7, major 2nd, major 3rd. So 1, 3, 7, 9. And that's just a classic dominant 9, like this. But when you do this instead, you don't have the major 3rd, you have the perfect 4th. That becomes a C9 sus4. C9, sus4. Okay, so what I mean is what you more likely find as dominant 11th chord, it should be called actually 9 sus4 because you can't use the 11th together with the major third. That's also the reason why in this video you will not find me talking about major 7 chords extended to the 11th, because the major 7th chords extended to the 11th sound very awful, and that would be something like, let's see if I can show you again, something like this, where most people hear a dissonance again between the major third and the perfect fourth. So I know that experimental avant-garde music, contemporary music can go with this kind of dissonances, and maybe in 200 years they will become the new reference for the sounds of a new style, but right now they sound like a dissonance to most people. So we really don't use them very much. We don't use them at all, to be fair. And instead, we just keep the major 7 extended either to the 9th or to the 13th, like we will see in a minute. Okay. Hey, Sebastian, good to see you too. Thanks for tuning in. So, yes, that's what it matters about the dominant 11th. I also want to show a minor 11 chord, which instead is one of my most used chords in the R&B series that I've got on this channel. I've got an acoustic R&B and neo soul series on this channel going on, and the next episode of this series, which will be the episode 8, will be out this coming Tuesday, and you will find lots of these minor 11 chords. Okay, so how do we play a minor 11 chord? It's basically a minor 7th chord, guys, like this A minor 7 that everybody knows, where you go 1, minor 7, minor 3rd, perfect 5th. But now you take off this perfect 5th because you often, as we said before, play an omitted 5, and you play instead a perfect 4th, which means the 11th degree of this, getting this thing. Again, yes, of course, when you play this is an omitted 5, but the voicing is 1, 7, 3, 11. Okay, so it's a minor 11 chord. There is no problem with the 11th, the 4th degree in this case, because you don't have the major 3rd in the chord. You guys have the minor 3rd, and the minor 3rd goes perfectly with the perfect 4th because they have a distance of 1 whole step. Sometimes just take a minor 7, a minor 11 chord, move it chromatically down 1 whole step, and it already creates a nice sound. Leo was saying that it sounds like tension passing chord when you play this. I would say tension indeed. The major 7, 11th, yes, definitely tension. Not very much as a passing chord. I think of a passing chord like, for example, a diminished 7th chord. When you go here, like. That's a tension of a passing chord rather than this, which is more of a dissonance, I would say. Okay, but obviously that's my opinion. You guys might feel different with these chords. I'm just sharing what I feel like when I listen to them. So that said about the minor 11 chords, we are moving on now to the 13th extension. So we talked about the 9th extension first, as applied to dominant 7th, to minor 7th, and to major 7th chords. Then we talk about the 11th chord as applied to the dominant 7th, which are actually 9th sus4 chords, and to the minor 7th, getting the minor 11th chords. Now we're going to talk about the 13th extension applied to the dominant 7, to the minor 7, and to the major 7, so to all of them, basically. Let's start from the dominant 7th chords, okay? In the dominant 7 chords, you play this beautiful thing. Or this beautiful thing. There's a little bit more jazzy. We'll see in a minute why, because it doesn't have the 9th really in it. You could play the 9th like this. Okay. Now, let's go step by step. First of all, we are back to a dominant 7 chord. So root, major 3rd, perfect 5th, minor 7th. What we can do really from here is extend it to the 9th, like we were doing before with the C9 chord. And then instead of using the perfect 5th on the 1st degree, which would make it like a full C9 chord, we keep it omit 5. 1, 3, 7, 9. So no 5th in it. And instead, you stretch your little finger and you get the major 6th degree, which 1 octave higher is called the major 13th. And you get this, which which is a beautiful sounding chord. If you guys don't like the sound of the major 9th together with the major 6th, major 13th, what you can do is go in here and play this, which doesn't have the 5th, but it doesn't have the 9th either. So this has only root, major 3rd here, minor 7th here, and major 6th or major 13th here, like this. If instead you like the 9th and you want to keep it as the highest note, you can add it down here with your little finger and getting a voicing which goes 1, 7, 3, 13, 9. Obviously, I'm not adding the 11th because I'm using the major 3rd. So I'm not extending 9, 11, 13th together. I'm extending 9 and 11. Sorry, 9 and 13th together, because the 11th would be a dissonance. There you go. Okay, so again, root, major 3rd, perfect 5th, we are skipping it, minor 7th, major 9th, major 13th. Root, minor 7th, major 9, major 13th, if you feel like major 9. That's the first song that came to my mind with this C913. It's Untitled by D'Angelo. How Does It Feel? I think it's called How Does It Feel? Untitled, How Does It Feel? And it goes like that. C9, and back to D major 7. Okay. That's a classic of R&B and neo-soul guitar, guys. So yeah, that's the 9th chord or dominant 7 chord extended to the 13th. What happens if we take a minor 7? Now, most people, I mean, not everybody agrees on what happens when you extend the minor 7 chord like this to the major 6, getting the minor 7, 13. Okay. Now, the reason for it is simply because the major 13 doesn't, you don't find it, as we saw previously in the modal scales, you don't find it in the Aeolian mode, in the natural minor scale, because you have a minor 6th. So you should go for the A flat, basically, which is something that it's possible. So it does sound more Dorian as a feel when you play this, which is absolutely cool. That's a minor 7, that's a minor 7, 13. But just be aware that you can't use it on the 1st degree of a minor key. You can use it on the 2nd degree of a major key, for example, giving you this classic Dorian sound. It's not my favorite, to be fair, but other people really like it. The other thing that you can do instead, if you want to use it on the 1st degree of a minor key, you need to use, as we said, the flat 6, flat 13, and you get this dissonance. This is an intentional dissonance. The dissonance this time would be between the perfect 5th and the flat 13, because they have an interval of a half step again. But in this voicing, I'm not using the perfect 5th, so you only hear the tension coming from the flat 13, but not the dissonance. Now, when you do that, it's root minor 7th, minor 3rd, minor 13. This is an extension that you could possibly find on the 1st degree of a minor key. Again, not my favorite when you use the 13th or the minor 13th on top of the minor 7 chord. The chord at the bottom, guys, it's the same. When I play this and when I play this, I'm playing a minor 7. But in this case, I'm extending it to a 13th or major 13th, which is the same, major 6th degree, basically. When I do this, I'm extending it to the minor 13th, minor 6th degree. So how do you write this? C7 13, so C7 slash 13. Here you write C7 flat 13, because the 13th is minor, okay? Just to clarify this as well. And the last chord, which instead I really like very much, is the major 7, that you can extend to the 13th very easily, doing this. So basically what you do, you look at a major 7th, and once more you take the perfect 5th and you move it up to the major 13th, and you get this, where the voicing is root major 7, major 3rd, major 13th. You like the ninth in the chords? Then you keep your little finger down, as always, and you get the ninth as well, okay? You could possibly do it here as well, but what happens is that you end up in this voicing into a 6 chord or 6/9 chord that we will see in a minute. Otherwise, you need to really extend this up here, and it's not the most comfortable chord to play. Anyway, you got the point, guys. It's a major 7 that you can extend to the major 13th with no problem, and it actually sounds fantastic. Very jazzy, okay? If we play like jazzy chord progression, what key can we use? Let's stick to the key of C major, right? So that's a classic 2, 5, 1, 4 in the key of C major, using all of the extensions that we saw tonight. D minor 9, 2nd degree, G7 13, 5th degree, C major 9, 1st degree, F major 9, 4th degree. So again, if you want to put some of the positions that we saw together, all in one chord progression, that's a good way. 2, 5, 1, 4. D minor 9, G7 13, C major 13, F major 9. Okay, you slowly go through the positions. I'll play them again a little bit slower. D minor 9, G7 13 sharing the top note, C major 13, F major 9. That's the chord that I played at the end. Okay, hopefully this makes sense. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the live chat, where Leah is saying nice progression, funky and mellow. I totally agree. That's the vibe. That's the vibe. Again, once more, guys, if you want to support this channel, feel free to leave a super chat or a super sticker or however it's called in the live chat, or just drop me a like, which would really help me reaching out to more people with this video. That said, we are ready to go now and explain the next topic, which is 6th chords, minor 6th, and 6/9 chords. Okay, trying to understanding these names and everything we say in them. So when I talk about 6 chords, most people tell me, but we just played a 6 chord when I was playing this, right? No, that's not correct, because when you play this, you consider this the 13th, which, yeah, it's the same note. The 6th and the 13th are the same note. But when I look at the 13th, I'm considering this 1 octave higher, so above the 7th. When I look at the 6th, I'm considering it 1 octave lower, so below the 7th. So what does it mean? That you find the 13th above together with the 7th. For example, here you got the major 7th and the 13th like this, okay, which is absolutely cool, and it sounds great, as we saw in the cool chord progression that I just played. While instead, if you play the 6th, you're thinking of something like this, where there is no 7th. So what I want to say is that the 6th degree replaces the 7th. So you either find the 7th or the 6th in the 6 degrees. Okay, you don't find both. When you find both, you talk about a 13th chord, maybe a major 13th, a dominant 7 13th, a minor 7 13th, and so on. It depends on the 7th chord that you are starting from. So let's go through a few positions and let's explain the difference between 6 and minor 6. Now, when you say 6, you mean major 6th degree. When you say minor 6, you mean minor 6th degree. So the word major or the word minor doesn't actually relate to the 6th degree. So for both the 6 and the minor 6 chords, what you are using for both C6 and C minor 6 is going to be the same degree, the same 6th degree, which is the major 6th degree. So we are not talking about the flat 13, flat 6, minor 6th degree. We are talking about either a major or a minor triad, but both adding a major 6th degree. That's absolutely important, because that's the mistake that when I was teaching in school and I was teaching harmony and all of these exercises on 6 chords and minor 6. People, when they read minor 6, they thought, oh, that's a flat 6. Nope, it's a minor triad with a major 6th degree. So the 6th chord is made by a major triad, root, major 3rd, perfect 5th, and the major 6th degree. The minor 6th chord is made by root, minor 3rd, perfect 5th, and still a major 6th degree. So what is changing between a 6th chord and a minor 6th chord? It's going to be just the 3rd, just the triad, basically, whether it's a major or a minor triad, but not the 6th. The 6th is actually the same major 6th degree. So if I go over a C major, guys, you might think, well, I take off, for example, the 5th, I replace it with the 6th, and I get this beautiful C6, okay? In this case, this is a C6 omit 5. Learn, guys, this chord, okay? In the past, the major 6th chord, but also the minor 6th chord, were used instead of major 7th and minor 7th very much in jazz music, and they were the chord where you finished a chord progression, where you release the tension instead of using major 7 and minor 7th. Major 7 and minor 7th sound better to me. I'm more used to it, but they are more modern, okay? From the bebop onwards, you started listening, from the 60s onwards, you started listening to the sound of major 7th and minor 7th degrees as the 1st degree of the keys. While instead before, you used to find these. And if you guys own any real book where you find all jazz standards, you still can read in most of them at the end of the chord progression as the final chord, a C6, for example, or a C minor 6. So the 1st degree with the 6th instead of the 7th. So it might be worth learning a few positions. For the 6th chord, I suggest to use this, or with the root on the 6th string, you can learn this, which also is a very interesting position. So again, here we weren't using the 5th, so that's a 6th chord, omit 5, while this has root, major 6th, major 3rd, and perfect 5th. So again, we're not playing the 5th, so it's another omit 5. 1, 3, 6, 1, 1, 6, 3, 5. Yeah, did I say omit 5? I think it said omit 5 and I was confusing everybody, but this is not an omit 5. That's what I wanted to say. That's the difference basically between the two. So when you guys play this, that's an omit 5, but it's a C6. This is a C6 as well, but it's not an omit 5 because you do have the 5th here. Okay, so 1, 6, 3, 5. Okay, so the order of the notes is literally 1, 1, 3, 5, 6. If we get instead the minor 3rd, we get a C minor extended to the 6th, adding, I shouldn't say extended is above the 7th, adding the 6th. Some people also call them add 6 and minor add 6 to refer to the 6th as an addition to the triad, and getting this. Okay, now this is the most common position. It's root, major 6th, major 6th, minor 3rd, perfect 5th. So again, 1, minor 3rd, perfect 5th, major 6th. And this is the position at the bottom, behind an entire style, an entire jazz style called manouche or gypsy jazz. Where you could play entire chord progressions just with this position, really. But that's another story. So just to let you know, guys, this is a minor 6 position where you play a minor chord with a major 6th degree. Okay. I guess you could do the same here if you move this major 3rd to the minor 3rd and you get something like this. It's just a little bit more uncomfortable. I have seen people playing this chord, okay? It's just not my favorite position. I feel like every time I see minor 6, I go for this. Okay, so if you guys are like me, if you don't like this too much, and you instead prefer this, just go for this minor 6. Okay, so yeah, that's all I have to say about the 6th and minor 6th chord. Just bear in mind that the 6th is the same degree, the major 6th degree between both, and it's only the triad which is changing. While instead, when we talk about 6-9, we are referring to a major 6th chord like C6, which we are extending, and in this case it's extending the right word to the ninth. So in the same way as we were talking about a major 7, so with the major 7th degree, which is more of a tension actually, that's why it wasn't so popular previously, and you extended it to the ninth to get C major 9th, which was amazing, and we played it even before. We can do the same with the C6. Keep the 6th instead of the 7th, so the 6th is a replacement for the major 7th, and we extend it to the 9th, and we get this. C6, 9. Okay, fantastic chord. I really love it. Another way of playing it could be this, which is, as you can hear, exactly the same. Root, major 3rd, major 6th, major 9th. Both don't have the 5th, so both are omit 5 positions. But what happens is that you find the 6-9 very often played in bossa nova, for example, in Brazilian music. And what you do, you alternate very often the root note on the bass with the perfect 5th. So you kind of like get the 5th back, alternating it to the root like this, basic walking bass line. That's my favorite position for the 6-9. Now, how do you notate 6, minus 6, and 6-9 chords? Well, the 6 chord, it's just root, so C, for example, followed by the number 6. The minus 6 is C minor, with any way you want to write minor, for example, with the minus symbol, followed by the number 6. C6-9, it's written as C6/9. So you don't write 69, you write 6/9. C6 extended to the 9th. Getting this. Okay, that's how you do it. Right, so just to recap what we went through tonight, we talked about what the extensions are. We talked about the 9th extensions, the 11th, the 13th, and then we also explained how the 6th chords work. Major 6, minor 6, and 6-9. I personally consider the 6th as important as the 7th chords. So when you guys learn, okay, there are the triads, which have 3 notes, then there are a few chords which instead have 4 notes, and they are the 7th chords, because normally you go 1, 4, 1, 3, 5, 7. With a few extensions with the sus chords, we might discuss this together with the add chords in the next episode. But there are also other chords which involve 4 notes, and these chords are the 6th chords. So C6 and C minus 6 have 4 notes in the chord. The triad, major or minor, and the 6th, always major 6th. Okay, the 6-9 instead are extensions, so like the 9th chords, they have 5 notes in it. Okay, unless you play to omit 5, of course. What are we going to talk about in the next episode? And this is a bit of an introduction. We're going to focus again on the dominant 7 chords, the first species that we learned, that today we extended to the 9th, we extended to the 13th, and we also learned how it works with the 11th as a 9 sus4. And we're going to basically talk about altered dominant 7th chords. So the dominant 7 chords that you can extend using alterations. Now, the alterations are 4. I made an entire video about it, I will link in the description as well. And these alterations are the flat 5, sharp 5, flat 9, sharp 9. So I'm basically talking about these chords, but also these chords. Okay, so they are beautiful chords, and they deserve an entire chapter on them. Also to understand the tension that you can create, for example, in minor keys, now that we are more familiar with the minor keys as well. And they are fundamental chords if you want to approach jazz music, for example, or more jazzy sounds. You do find them quite a lot, even in R&B and in neo-soul. So in my series, R&B and neo-soul acoustic guitar, I often use a flat 9 chord. Again, guys, if you are interested in R&B and neo-soul acoustic guitar, a new episode, the episode 8 of the series, will be out this coming Monday. this coming Tuesday, sorry. So make sure that you check out this coming Tuesday, this episode. And if you haven't done it yet, obviously make sure to subscribe and ring the bell, because if you ring the bell, you get notification when a new video is up, which is once a week, so it's not going to bother you too much. And when I'm about to go live, about half an hour before I go live, so that you've got the time to get ready and enjoy the live streaming that I offer every week here on YouTube. Okay. That's it, guys. This is all for tonight. If you want to watch my latest episode of my latest video, actually, that went out last Tuesday, it's about chords very similar to the ones that we talked about tonight. It's all about the most important chords that you need in R&B and neo soul guitar. So if you haven't watched it yet, make sure to watch it. It's my latest video on the channel, and it talks about most of these chords and a few more, so you might find that interesting as well. And as always, if you're watching the replay and you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment box below. And if you haven't done it yet, make sure to like this video, because that really helps me reaching out more people with a YouTube algorithm. And after this live streaming, as always, the timestamps, so the chapters of what I talked about, will be available. All right. Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Leo. And thanks everybody who watched this video thanks, Andres, while I was live. I look forward to seeing you next week for the episode 17 of this series, next Friday, same time. All right. You guys take care and have a great weekend. I will speak to you very soon next week. Bye.